Well, hello there, YouTube, and welcome to a 31-degree Monday, the 24th of November. It's 40 degrees now. Didn't even look at the weather. It was everything I had seen prior said it's supposed to rain. I'm loving how the weather is going here lately. Definitely rained all night, though. You can see everything's dripping wet. But it's nice now, even though it's 40 degrees, that actually feels good. Wow, that was a big tree that just fell. Man, that's sad. When they land that big, that loud, that's a big tree. So sad. But anyway, let's start off a Monday. Yo, come on along. 44 degrees and mostly cloudy, but I see blue patches out there. It's sprinkled on us on right around the I-5-205 exchange there by Clark County. We thought it was just like fog mist, and no, I think that's little driplets of rain. It's supposed to rain today, but
it is.
If it don't, like it did last week, there'll be no complaints. Well, Mom, let's roll in there and start off a moon day.
All right.
All right.
Like a good idea.
All right. I'll see you here in a little bit. Have yourself a wonderful day. Love you. See you. Bye.
Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now. She's kind of quiet down here again today. So I came across this really cool thing about torque wrenches and testing stuff out. Everything from, expensive snap-ons to cheap Harbor Freight torque wrenches. And surprisingly, all of them do well. Some of these kind of weird no-name things from you get off of Amazon or whatever were a little off. But the Harbor Freight stuff, absolutely shockingly. And I have a 1/4 inch, 3/4, and half of those cheesy Harbor Freight ones that I'll use in a pinch. It's better than nothing at all. And I often wondered, they're the mechanical ones where you twist it in, set your torque. Kind of wondered how those things work out. Oddly enough, very, very well. I mean, absolutely usable. And they were using old ones. I mean, this one was like 10 years old. So don't be afraid to buy a cheap Harbor Freight torque wrench and use the thing. That's nuts. And so hang on a second. I've enjoyed Cornwell over the years for quite some time. They don't even come by here anymore. I don't think we even have a Cornwell guy. But one of these adapters to get into a weird place, you basically click it, offset. It can be left or right. Now, you can go straight ahead if it's some tight spot, but you have to do a mathematical calculation to figure out what it is. I always forget. I keep meaning to write it down, but you can Google it and get it in seconds. You measure the tool. And I thought there was paperwork or something that came with this thing that it's probably in the box somewhere that tells you, because you'll note, regardless of the size, they're all the exact same length. That's important to know, because if you go straight with it, you change the torque, because you've essentially added more lever to the torque wrench. But I've never come across something that I couldn't get in there at 90 degrees. But there is a way. I think somebody loaned it to somebody that was working over there, and we figured the calculation out right quick, because it was just a spot you couldn't get into something. And but anyway, I always call them dog bones, but it's just a deal that makes your torque wrench more usable and accessible to different areas. I just bought the one 3/8 set, and oddly they weren't that much. So a couple of things that'll get you is ideally on all torque wrenches, regardless of the cheapo Harbor Freight or a crazy overpriced Snap-on, you want to hold it mid-handle. You always want to grab it mid-handle on each one. You don't want to be holding on to the end. You don't want to be torquing down here at the bottom or choking up in the, like you're choking up on a bat. That will change the torque value. Not by a whole bunch, but it definitely makes a difference. The other thing with the spin in the torque, like the Harbor Freight, the cheap ones, you want to back them off. Well, a Snap-on guy, because I have one that I really love, and I have that one at home. I took that one home after I bought this digital one, is a 1/4 inch one. Most of the stuff you can do on motorcycles and you're torquing it, 1/4 inch is more than enough. 3/8 I find it to be probably the most useful, but when you're doing things like clutch covers, you remember the recalls on the BMWs, the K1600s, you have 5,000 torque set, and you have to go do the torque, go over it, twice, and then you go over it a third time with a degrees. And both of these will do degrees. I didn't spend the extra money because the jump from this one to the one that does degrees was pretty big. But that's really nice to have. Very convenient for work. Not necessary. But the biggest thing with those, the wind-up ones, like the cheap Harbor Freight ones I have at home, and the Snap-on guy told me with my manually adjust clickers, was to, back it off, but don't back it all the way off. So back it off until you feel the tension go away, because it's basically on those, there's a spring inside there. And once it gets to that torque, there's like a little linkage where, a section of this bars inside here, and it has a pivot. You'll see all of those have a pivot somewhere in there, and that's where that bar clicks. And the spring tension that you're adjusting at the bottom on the old manual clickers, that determined the torque. And one nice thing about the clickers, like those ones like that, is you get that physical notification when you've got to the torque. And these you can over torque if you're not paying attention and watching the lights and the sounds. You need to stop when it beeps. The nice thing is once it beeps, you can look, and for a few seconds it'll hold the torque you achieved. And really nice. As you can see, this one actually holds it for, I think, longer than the rest. It holds it for quite a bit before it goes back to the torque, or if you apply any kind of a torque to it, it'll zero back out. But the big thing is to back them off, but don't leave them all the way backed off. And this guy was, heck, he might not even be with us anymore. He was a long time Snap-on guy. And he said, so you back them off until you'll literally feel the tension come off. It's like a ball bearing or something that rides the bottom of that spring and it pushes it up. And so it has a really nice feel to them. Even the cheesy old Harbor Freights have that. But back it off until you feel it. Back until you feel all the tension come off. And ever so slightly, turn it till it touches and just barely go in. But they don't want it completely loose. They said the problem is when you do that, it can lose its contact in the lubrication. Of course, you can have it sent to Snap-on or whoever and redo it. But the biggest thing It's like, say you're using your 1/4 inch and you're torquing something at 50 Newton meters or 50 pounds, whatever you're using, and you get done, you're doing all your torque, and you throw the thing back in your drawer. It will sack the spring out inside there. Absolutely will sack the spring out. I've heard people tell me, and I've known this since, in fact, the old days when you use the old torsion bar torque wrenches. That's what I had as a kid. I had a 1/4, 3/8, and a 1/2 inch torsion bar torque. In fact, I think I have one of. Maybe I took that thing home. I think I kept I think I took that home. A 3/8 torsion bar one. My 1/4 inch one, have no idea what happened to it. It might have been one of the things that I had a set of tools. I had my race van, and it was late. Got back and decided, I'll just park it down in the garage at the apartment that Kel and I were living in, and I'll get up in the morning and drive to the Honda and Yamaha shop there in Longview. I showed you the back of that building and stuff. The next morning and unload my race bikes and my tools. Well, somebody broke in the van who were absolute idiots, couldn't figure out how to steal the bikes, but they stole my tools. Now, granted, it was a box that was, it was probably, about this thick and probably about that tall. And then all the big stuff was in secondary boxes, and I'm literally mean box, like a paper box, because those stayed, at my work area. But when I went, to the races and stuff, I need to bring all that extra stuff. It's amazing what I could do with what was in that box. And that's when my dad went and bought me the top box that got damaged at Portland Honda on a Honda Odyssey. Odyssey, not what you're thinking, the minivan. It was basically a dune buggy that Honda made. Oh no, it wasn't the Odyssey. The Odyssey was the 250. It was the Pilot. I think it was a 400 Pilot. I think it had the liquid cooled, basically like an old CR motor in there. But anyway, I was at lunch and we were using those, the big Pilot beams, the posts that went in. It was more for cars, but it was designed for the motorcycles, and they were skinny. I mean, they weren't much wider than one of these outside racks. And they were all like diamond plate steel. They're really heavy duty and stuff. But anyways, balancing that Pilot on there, and he was trying to torque something or whatever, and whew, went over, hit my box, scattered all my tools across the shop. And so Portland Honda bought me that one, and that was cool. So yeah, don't leave the old spring style that you wind up the bottom, the old clicker ones, don't leave them things tensioned. Definitely kiss of death to leave them tensioned, but don't back them all the way off so that you can literally hear the spring rattling around in there. They said it causes the lubrication to break up on it. Again, you can always take them apart. Now, I'm sure you could do it, but with a Snap-on, but you had to have Snap-on do it. They wouldn't give you the instructions. Of course, they want to charge you labor for it. But the Harbor Freight ones, you can actually, I don't know if it came with, I'll have to look, because I think I still have the boxes for them, for the Harbor Freight ones. Each one of those things was $19.95 each. And I had some discount thing. I think I got them for $14 a piece, or whatever it was. There was a big discount on them. And I bought all three at the same time. But yeah, leaving them off, it becomes a lubrication problem. Absolutely. It's like, I see kids that with their dirt bikes that drive around with them strapped down in their truck, and they parade that thing around, like a badge of honor. They're absolutely wiping out their fork springs by doing that. In fact, they make, devices where it can hold your bike in your truck without, having to squish it down with tie downs. But the Harbor Freight one, you can take the thing apart and you can actually compensate, but you have to have the tool that calibrates the torque wrench. So that's the big caveat. You need to have that tool. Snap-on guys had this box that, they plug the things into, and it would check them and they calibrate them. I don't know how they do the digital ones. I think, like they have, ports that they plug into and do whatever. I don't know how they calibrate them. The Snap-on guy we had here had to, if you want them calibrated, you had to send them off. Because you remember with BMW, you had to, I forget what the frequency was. I think every 6 months or something, you had to have them calibrated. But you remember, if you guys remember years ago in 2019, it's hard to believe 2019 was 6 years ago already. Just about to be 7, isn't that crazy? Wow. But anyway, I used that because I had that Riker, and I come across a deal where they had to do that recall, and I think I forgot my torque wrench. I go, man, I need to do this thing. So I grabbed my Harbor Freight 1/2 inch and had to torque those nuts. There was a recall where they wanted you to back off and retorque them because guys doing PDI were not doing them right or whatever it was. There was some kind of issue. But anyway, I used that Harbor Freight one, and I came in and tested, which is kind of hard once something is torqued down. It's hard to verify where it was. But essentially, the Harbor Freight thing did a perfect job. I didn't have to worry about it. But I still, brought the thing to work and backed it off and retorqued it with this. And I think it was 300 Newton meters. Yeah, it was 300. That's a lot of torque. That's a whole lot. In fact, I still have that one. They bought a new one because some yahoo decided to use a torque wrench or something or a impact. Look at it, it's all beveled out. So every time I use it, it gets stuck. It gets stuck on my torque wrench. So the way you get it stuck is you torque it to specs, and then you had to reverse the torque wrench and go backwards a little bit, and it would click and unlock. So I had to, obviously I'm not going to do that to the nut I just torqued. So I'd just take a rag or something, soft jaws, and put it in the vise and just back it off. And sometimes you could, just kind of give it a little love tap with a rubber mallet, and it would snap itself back. Where is this behemoth hiding out? Here somewhere. But thought it'd be cool torque wrench stuff. Remember, always hold the middle of the grip, and don't be choking up on it. And the rumors that, and I've known this for a long time, that extensions will mess up the torque. They do not. They make virtually no difference whatsoever. The big thing is, if you're using these dog bones, be 90 degrees off, or do the calculation if you're going straight out. And a thing that you can damage a digital torque wrench is using it as a cheater bar. I literally watched somebody do that with one of these Cornwell ones. He went way over what he was supposed to. Use it as a torque wrench only. You need a cheater bar, have a cheater bar. Speaking of Icon tools, or I don't know if this is an Icon. I don't think I bought the Icon version of it. Maybe I did. But get a good, is that the Pittsburgh? Nope, I bought the Icon. Get yourself a good cheater bar. I've literally had things so tight that I have sitting in my box an old dead, remember we had to do the recalls on the BMW. In fact, the tool to do that recall is still stuck in that vise over there. Had to put those stainless steel caps on the top of the forks for all the GS and GSAs, and what was it? I had getting I don't think it was. Oh no, I had the fork. I'm like, what? I don't. What's it do anything like that to do that recoil? But I have that fork that you can slide on there and make a cheater bar for the cheater bar. I've literally had this thing bowing, and yep, they don't break. That Icon stuff is it's pretty good, and for like wrenches and stuff, actual physical scientific test as far as strength, like open end wrenches, it's just a skosh less powerful as a snap-on. I'm pretty sure you guys seen all the viral videos that using that little plastic piece or whatever that the Icon beat the snap-on and whatever. In real world lab testing type stuff, the snap-on ever, and I mean a difference that you would never know, beat it. I bought some Icon sockets. I think I bought some Icon, those offset wrenches. They were all SAE. And I needed something I was doing on a Harley, and I wasn't going to use one of those cheap Pittsburgh ones on there. They don't, I mean, they get the job done, but you don't want to mar up your nuts and bolts and stuff. At least I don't. But anyway, I was going through there and had a little thing about torque wrenches. I come across that last weekend before, flipping through YouTube on a quiet rainy day or whatever it was, and came across, I think it's called the wrench guy, the torque guy, something like that. Some of his tools are made up tools, but they get it done. It's scientific enough, and they'll test a bunch of different wrenches and stuff to see what their accuracy is. Snap-ons tend to be at the top all the time, but they're crazy expensive too. And if you get what you pay for, I don't know that I wouldn't say that for even doing this as a living, that necessarily Snap-on is the right thing to spend that much money on for wrenches. I'm not saying go out and buy cheap wrenches, because you'll damage people's stuff doing that. And back when the cruisers were a big thing, all the metric cruisers, because I was working here with all that, and gold wings and stuff like that, when it had a lot of chrome on them. You don't want to be putting some cheesy wrench on somebody's chrome nut or bolt and marring that thing up. In fact, we got good at, you take rubber gloves and all I used to do is just knock the fingers out of them. And they're thin enough that they'll fit between the wrench or socket and the nut or bolt that you're taking off, and it will put a coating in there, and saves all that stuff. But those old metric cruiser days are over. I tend not to go overly chrome on my Harley stuff, as you notice. It kind of went that way with one particular Royal Enfield. I love that little thing. It's like a little jewel in the shop out there. And it is so fun to ride. Man, is that thing fun. But anyway, that's probably some useless torque wrench knowledge you never knew you ever needed to know about. But if you really care and you can afford it, the digitals, just for their youthfulness. And the nice thing is the lights on these things, because like go back to a K1600, has that goofy 5mm bolt that's in. You take the drain bolt out and you got another bolt inside there that you got to release. Well, when you torque that thing back down, it's crucial that you torque that. Well, it's upside down. You can't see the screen. But as you're going along, the lights start adding up. It goes 1, and then it'll go 2, and then it'll be 3, and then 4 is when it beeps green that you've reached it. If it goes to the 5th one and it turns red, you just over torqued it. So you gotta be careful with that. Yeah, very, very useful. And this one has the same thing. It's got the series of lights in it. And this one gives weird warnings. It goes beep, 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 beep. It makes a solid beep when you've reached it. These are silent until they reach their torque. This is kind of cool because you don't have to pay attention to the lights. You can just listen to it. It's got that progression as you're going up. You can tell you're getting there. We use this a whole lot with the Riker, those wheel nut recalls, and then they changed the nut, and now the right side is left-hand threads, and different things. There's all that stuff's all water under the bridge. But doing the front sprockets on the spiders at 150 Newton meters, that's a lot of torque. That's you need something nice and long. This one I think tops out at 101 Newton meters, 103 Newton meters, somewhere around there. You literally have to have something bigger to get those kind of torques. But it's fun stuff. Tools. All these tools and all the money I spent on these things. And now I don't ever buy any tools from the tool guys when they come by. I pretty much have everything I need. I don't know why. I always put them up so that the little dot, you can see the 17 was used a lot. It's got all my phalange prints all over it. For the little pin that's on that kind of helps lock it into place. Some of them, have push buttons that it literally locks, the socket or whatever you have on there. But I always have that facing up. Just some of those anal retentive things I do, I guess. How's that? Y'all didn't know you were going to get a tool lesson today, did you? Well, hello there, YouTube. Well, I think it sprinkled a little bit on the way home.
A little bit.
But it did rain at work, and then it just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I went up and bought another hat because I forgot a hat. I believe I found another ball cap.
No,
I like that color too, that gray. It was hidden by a bunch of stuff, and I go, there's one that's gray, and I'm looking through that. I go, score. So I grabbed it, threw it on. Kelly was doing inventory or something, so I threw it on her bench. Come back a little later.
Yeah, I seen that sitting there. I go, yeah, hubby's been here.
Oh, got the steering head bearings, Timken bearing set coming for the XR.
Yeah,
at like half the price of the Honda stuff, so probably more than less than half the price.
Yeah, that was a good buy.
But anyway, on that, we've knocked Monday out.
Yeah.
And then we got tomorrow
Tuesday,
and Wednesday, and then Turkey Day, and then back on Black Friday. Yep.
Yeah.
They're having some really good deals. I was looking at that sheet, and I'm like, if I was looking at stuff, that'd be pretty inviting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on sale.
Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, we're gonna roll.
Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. We will talk to you tomorrow. Same smoke time, same smoke channel. Don't forget to give her a thumbs up. And you guys have an amazing Tuesday or Wednesday.
Heck yeah. All right.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do this again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you watching now.
Yes.
Bye-bye.